Yo, have you been keeping up with the Knicks yet, or no?
I totally have not. But do they have a winning record?
Come on, bro. Yes.
Nice. Enjoying while
At least look at the stat line, brother. Come on. Let me pop this beer open. Hold on.
Oh, my man got a beer.
What kind of concoction do you got today, brother? What do you got today?
I only got white wine, and I forgot to throw.
No. It shouldn't just, no. See, it's not only got white wine. You got white wine.
I need a ginger shot in here, though.
Oh my god, I don't understand this guy. I'm having this beer here by Threes Brewing. I went to this brewery in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
It's their version of Logical Conclusion, and it's a delicious IPA. Absolutely
Logical Conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Dope. It's a dope name.
I went to Threes Brewing over here in Brooklyn. Finbeck is better. That place is good. Wow. Let's get this overlay. What up?
Julie, Alicia, what up? Welcome.
Just as a side note behind the scenes, y'all, Savory and I have been hustling this past 2 days. We have scheduled, we have pre-recorded
3 episodes.
3 episodes in these past 2 days, so that we can have our rest of our week to ourselves with our families.
Which we did 5 altogether, concluding today's live and yesterday live. This is the 5 episodes in 2 days. Yeah, so
we've been hustling behind the scenes, and we've been doing this because we love this.
Yeah.
We love this. That's
what it's about, man.
So, in case you're wondering, I'm Macho, that's Savory, and you're watching us on Drinks with a Nobody on Nobody TV. That's right. I'm Macho, that's Savory, and I want to welcome everyone to our Tuesday night broadcast. This is a live broadcast. This is going to be our last live broadcast together until Monday. But don't be alarmed. We have some pre-records that are dropping every single day. We don't stop hustling. We're like my every day we're hustling. Every day we're hustling. I got my beer here. Like I said, Threes Brewing.
Oh, that looks dope.
I think you can pick it up. Logical Conclusion.
Nothing like a mason jar wine.
There you go. That's right. And We got a big show today. We're talking about the closing arguments of Ahmaud Arbery, the
Mhm,
trial.
mhm.
We want to hear from the defense themselves. We want to hear what's going on. We want to get an overview and mind your business. We want to hear what's going on, whether this person should mind their business or not.
Sounds about
And
right.
then us nobodies are going to listen to the experts, and then we're going to have our thoughts and see what's going on there. We also want your thoughts. We need your thoughts. This is what helps us grow.
Facts. Julie,
We
you
need your
drinking
thoughts.
Pepsi. Appreciate you know the vibes, Julie. We didn't
Julie,
even have to
welcome.
ask. She let us know what she's drinking. Love it. Gotta love it.
Julie's also getting free merch when we get to come to that.
Yeah.
Julie and Felicia and Chrissy, 3 of our top
All right,
fans.
easy now. Top 3, and that's it. I'm sorry for the rest, but it's capitalism, guys. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. All right. Yeah, we appreciate the support. No joke.
So, and on Sip on Facts, we have a very good professor that my eyes have opened to. His name is Dr. Zumaya, and that's going to be our Sip on Facts portion today. So, stay tuned. All right, what do we got?
Ladies and gentlemen, before I do that transition from mind your business, we do it for the next clip, but let me give you an overview. We got New York Times, right? We're trying to keep this fair. Then we also got, for those of you who heard, Brandon Tatum, complete opposite perspective. But we're going to show a little bit of each of these clips. Have you get your take on it, on what you think. And then, we'll transition in a little bit to what Macho is going to show us a little more details on the closing argument. But we want people to be aware of what actually happened in the case, right? Okay. The video footage, how people responded. And again, the closing arguments will be more of the facts that are actually presented. But this is, again, how it was presented a year ago. So let's get to it. This is the New York Times.
I'm excited for this.
In February, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery was shot dead in the South Georgia neighborhood of Satilla Shores. In the 2 months that followed, no arrests were made. But local residents and lawmakers protested what they said was a deadly combination of racial profiling and flawed self-defense laws.
When they stop you, make sure you got your cameras on. Make sure you got a video.
Police did eventually arrest 2 suspects, but it was days after this video of the fatal shooting emerged. Gregory McMichael and his son Travis were charged with murder and aggravated assault. No justice, no peace. The case has reignited the national debate over racial violence.
I'm sure you saw the news about Ahmaud.
Not from us. Oh, thanks for the unmute. This is good because you guys can see not from us, but from the media coverage, how the media covered it, right? Now you're going to see a few clips. I'm going to play about another minute and a half, and you're going to see a few clips of how actual people in the media responded to this. All right. So this is good to know because you're able to be more aware when things like this happen, to be like, all right, don't give me that same response before the facts come out. All right, let's do this.
Okay.
Arbery, it looks murder.
The American public saw the video.
What exactly happened in the last moments of Mr. Arbery's life? Using security camera footage, cell phone video, and 911 calls and logs, the Times has reconstructed the critical 12 minutes from when Mr. Arbery appeared on Satilla Drive to his death less than 300 yards away. It's around 1 p.m. on February 23rd when Ahmaud Arbery is out, less than 2 miles from his home. A security camera at 219 Satilla Drive is recording when Mr. Arbery enters the frame at around 1:04 p.m. He may have been jogging in the area, but he stops on the front lawn of 220 Satilla, a house being built across the street. Arbery glances around and wanders into the open construction site. Inside, security footage briefly captures him looking around.
pausing it to make sure we're good. But this is the New York Times covering it, giving you the details of how they're covering it and what the media was saying about it. All right, so just pay attention, bear with us as we go to our next clip.
Meanwhile, outside, a neighbour walks from Jones Road towards Attila Drive and calls 911.
There's a guy in the house right now. The house under construction. 219 or 220 Attila Drive.
The neighbour waits by the street corner. He will later tell the dispatcher that Arbery resembles a recent trespasser in the area.
He's been caught on the camera a bunch before at night. It's kind of an ongoing thing out here. Black guy, white t-shirt.
On multiple occasions before February 23rd, several trespassers were caught on camera at 220 Attila. The owner routinely alerted the police. On 4 occasions, what appears to be the same man was filmed. It's unclear if this was Arbery, but even if it were, this does not justify his shooting by neighbours outside on the street. The site's owner says nothing
was on alert. The neighborhood was on alert. That's important to note, getting these details here. So another few 20-30 seconds.
was ever stolen from the house during these incidents or on February 23rd, and no property was ever damaged. But neighbours were aware of the trespasses, and the community was on alert. Now, back to the day in question. It's 1:08 p.m. and Arbery is walking around inside the house. 4 minutes after he entered, he walks out and runs off.
He's running right now. There he goes right now.
Okay, what is he doing?
Okay, so here we got some of the details to the case. New York Times covering it. A lot of the media narrative. He was jogging, he was going around, but mind you, we didn't know much about this case. All right. All you know is what you see on a video, which seems like a lot of people use this argument. Oh, but it's on video. But what does that mean? It's on video, right? You can't just show a video and convict someone. You got to get the details of what happened prior and after. All right. Those details, they cover a little more. He starts running away, citizens arrest, and some of that stuff happened, right? We're going to transition now to a clip from Brandon Tatum, which he's more going to give you the opposite, I would say, perspective. Would you agree with that, Macho?
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, they're doing, what was this? The New York Times visual investigation? Let me guess. Yeah. Okay. So again, they do this as a way of saying that they're well-rounded in looking at this case. And again, by the looks of it, it appears that they did a decent job at their connection of this case from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, it didn't look too bad. We didn't continue playing everything, but usually they drive in a narrative towards the end of these videos. Yeah. So and everybody does that. Even Brandon Tatum might have. Everybody could get criticized of that, but who's presenting more of the facts? That's what we want to say here, all right? So again, this was recorded right when the incident happened, and we only had the video footage. Now let's move to this segment. Let me guess, wrong place at wrong time. He was jogging. Come on, that is not him. They said, yeah.
Yeah, they those other video footages, we don't know who it was. The point of the matter is that they were arguing in the case is that they have been having break-ins. They've been having people coming in and around the neighborhood that they are not familiar with and they don't want there.
Yeah.
Do they have a right for that? I don't know. Let's see.
This is the details of the case. When Macho, you get into the closing argument, we talk about that a little bit. All right. So we're going to do our transition to Mind Your Business and vote on the New York Times and Brandon Tatum to see how these go.
In Ahmaud Arbery's case that a lot of people may not like because people have jumped to conclusions and picked a side before any of this stuff came out. And now many people are going to walk around with an egg on their face when I told people very vividly and clearly to wait before you pick a side. You don't need to be pro McMichael. You don't need to be pro Arbery. You need to be pro facts. You need to go with the facts and information that you have available. And also, if you have a level of expertise, use your common sense and expertise. But B. Tatum is here not to coddle your feelings, not to do anything else but deliver the fact.
Yeah, was not that part of the property? Yes, construction area. Yeah. I'm glad you guys are commenting, sharing your thoughts. As we go to this video, we'll have an opportunity to kind of see. So we are looking at your comments, and all interesting. These are all legitimate concerns and questions. Let's keep watching this opposite perspective here.
I'm a former police officer, and I got a huge level of experience and understanding on how law works, how arrests work, and how court proceedings work. So let's start from the top. Was Ahmaud Arbery just jogging through a community to get exercise as any person in America would do in a reasonable sense? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is no unequivocal evidence that he was jogging through the community. There's no video evidence, and there's no witness.
All right, so I had a 2 cents here that I wanted to throw in here. So, Julie wrote that that was two white kids, and the other guy was a lighter skin. I'm just saying, yeah. Um, all of whom were called. The cops were called on because Travis had camera feed, despite the fact that he wasn't at the area. He was still calling the police from where he was at his parents' house because he had cameras there that he would get people coming in and around the construction site, no matter who they were. He didn't want them there, so he would call the police, say, "Hey, I don't want people on my property. I don't want them in my on my boat yard. I don't want them there." And do we have a right? Do we have a right to do that? That's what we're trying to figure out here.
Yeah. So again, what you're saying is they took the same actions with all the people they saw. The difference here, they
Every
were
single
there
person.
and
Yeah,
chose to pursue because they were actually on site. Yeah. So all right,
correct.
that's good.
His testimony that's what he was doing. What the only person that says that Ahmaud Arbery was jogging, unfortunately, he can't give the statement, but his mom believed that he was in the community jogging. Video evidence has surfaced. A lot of people are rejecting it, but it's evidence, it's video, it's going to be in a court testimony at some point. So instead of the jogging scenario, which has been debunked, video evidence shows Ahmaud Arbery walking down this residential street. He walks up to a house that is not occupied. This is not a construction site like people would envision, where there's just a frame on a house and there's no real construction. This is nearly a fully built house that happened to have been renovated. And
Site. So it wasn't a construction site,
No, it was.
right? It was.
hmm
Okay, because he's making it seem like it wasn't a construction site then, right there.
Meaning that it was being there were areas of the house that was being built.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
again, he didn't go in thinking it's a construction site when it looks like that, because that looks like a full house where he can rob stuff.
Could you imagine why someone would call the police when they see this?
Oh, common sense tells me, yeah. I mean, if let me picture myself in this house from this angle, and I see that, right, and I know it's a house there. You might know the neighbor. Remember, it's a community. It's not a random person calling. It's a
Facts.
person from the neighborhood, right? Maybe a random person, I wouldn't know what he's doing, but if I'm from the neighborhood, I would damn sure know that he doesn't belong there because I know the person across the street, or I know it's a construction site. So I
And
would.
not that this matters, but apparently to the mass media this does. The person who has this camera is a Spanish neighbor of Travis, and whom was also in assistance in helping him citizens arrest this person. Right?
Hmm.
He was the one that was making sure to keep the video along with the other guy but he didn't the Spanish person didn't make it on trial. He's not on trial because again, he didn't do anything. It was just these three white men that are on trial, not the Spanish guy. There's a Spanish guy who called Travis, says, "Hey, that guy's back on your property." This has all been argued in court. He says, "Oh, that guy's back on your property. He's back there now." He's like, "Okay, I'm on my way." All right, so go ahead.
So Brandon said, if you know the area, you know it's construction. I don't. Are you saying like?
I mean,
Yeah.
he just reminded me another point. The other concern you may have with a construction site is certain things inside that construction site, like copper, which is what a lot of people steal to sell because they get a lot of money for it. and it costs a lot of money to get back. So if you have to get another, if you have to tell your construction workers, hey, can you get more resources? Yeah, pay up. It's expensive. All right. So there could be concerns of that. I'm not saying this cost this man's life and it's justifiable. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah.
this
I don't
could be
think none of us
motive.
are
This
saying
could
that.
be the motive and the intent. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, and then the he is a runner narrative. It seems like that wasn't really the case, but again, we'll see that in court. I haven't kept up with the details in the beginning. What I heard, they did mention some of that, but you know, he has cocky pants on,
Yeah, Fed
and he
charges for
seemed,
hate crime. Mm.
yeah, but we'll
Was
see.
it hate crime being argued in this case, Julie? I don't remember that. But yeah, go ahead and
Yeah,
say this.
and it's that. And remember, hate crime in itself, like it depends how it differs from state to state as well. So we got to
Yeah, that's
know
true.
state we're talking about.
Nobody's living there, so it's unoccupied. So the image in people's minds have been that this is a construction site on just frames and it's an open area. That's not what it is. This is a legit house. Now you can see on the video.
You're muted.
Empty-handed. He was empty-handed, right? I just wanted to pause really quick to address that. You know, we try to address as many comments as we can, but we also want to, you know, move swiftly. So remember, we're not ignoring no comments. We're trying to address what we can. So we're on different platforms at the same time. But Brandon, when we talk about a case, right, when you're empty-handed or you have a lethal weapon, when we're talking about a lot of these cases, whether it be self-defense or not, you know, details are different. A lot of times you don't know that, right? A lot of times you have no idea if someone's empty-handed or not. Again, like Macho and I said, it's not justification for him dying or even being shot. We're just giving you the idea from the perspective of the law, right? If y'all missed it, we played New York Times, and now we're playing Brandon Tate and two opposites. I'm going to play a few more minutes here, and then we're going to transition, but so you can see both sides, right? But let's keep it moving here.
That has been presented that Ahmaud Arbery is walking through the community. He stops in front of the house. He looks both ways to see if anybody's watching him or can see him. And he does a small sprint into the driveway, and then he walks into the house through the garage. Now, initially, the video that I'm referring to, you can't tell if he's inside the house or just in the garage at this point in time. But a few minutes later or so, he comes walking out and re-enters the house at another location. Now, there's other video that has surfaced of him actually in the house. I've only seen 7 seconds of it, although he was in the house for almost 3 minutes. Now, there is no evidence to rule out if he had actually taken something or attempted to take something or not based on the 7-second video. However, according to Georgia law, if you enter a dwelling, which this house classified as a dwelling means a structure that's constructed for the purpose of people living in it, it can be occupied, unoccupied, or vacant, and it still is considered a dwelling. If a person enters a dwelling with the intent to commit a felony or theft, that person is responsible for first-degree burglary. First-degree burglary.
This is what we mean when we mean the breakdown of the law, right? Correct. These details right here, it's not about us sign with him going to jail, with him dying, with a person doing this. Just, you know, unfortunately he can't speak now, but just in general, it's more about, man, what happened under the law? Because if we don't like the law, let's work to change it. Because right now, this is the law. You see that? So again, that's just a snippet. I'm going to play another minute or so, and then we got to definitely move.
In Georgia law is a felony. So as Mr. Arbery, he's looking around. A reasonable person will believe he's not looking around because he's trying to figure out where he want to put his brand new couch. A reasonable person will believe that he's looking around because he's trying to look for something. Now, look for something in a house that does not belong to you sounds like you have intent to grab something, take something, which is theft. Now, a person walks out of the house and witnesses Mr. Arbery in the house. They walk out and shouts at him, which this has been confirmed from an independent source that I know who live in the area. They yell at him, and then he bolts out of the house and he's running and is visible on the camera, which is a surveillance camera of a house across the street. Now, there is a 911 call provided by Gregory McMichael. And on that 911 call, they're explaining that they visibly see Mr. Arbery currently in an unoccupied structure. and that while they're on the 911 call, they see him running out of the occupied structure, and then they give chase, according to all the documents that I've read. Now, according to Georgia law,
Gotta keep talking while I'm on mute. Thanks, Macho. So
You got it.
this right here, I'm gonna let him go to this one law. It's a long video, right? But check it out. And you can also check the New York Times one out. We encourage you to check both of them out, by the way. But here, he's gonna break down another law, right? These are the details that matter in the court of law. So once he breaks this down, we'll transition, we'll vote on mind your business, and we'll keep it moving from here. But let's see him break down this law.
have firsthand knowledge, or they say immediate knowledge of a crime, and it's a felony, you can pursue and conduct a citizen's arrest. And an arrest, if people don't understand what that term means, that means that you are able to, and that while they're on the 911 call, they see him running out of the occupied structure, and then they give chase, according to all the documents that I've read. Now, according to Georgia law, if you witness a person or you have firsthand knowledge, or they say immediate knowledge of a crime, and it's a felony, you can pursue and conduct a citizen's arrest. And an arrest, if people don't understand what that term means, that means that you are able to grab a person, detain a person where they cannot leave. That is considered an arrest. So Georgia law gives Greg and Travis McMichael lawful reason or lawful ability to conduct a citizen's arrest on Mr. Arbery, who they've witnessed commit a crime. Now, they give chase to Mr. Arbery. The video picks up what we've all seen, the horrible video of him running down the residential street, and you can see the pickup truck with Travis McMichael and his father, Greg McMichael, in the back seat, and you see a video.
All right, all in favor from Mind Your Business to Brandon Tatum, or not?
Or the New York Times, right? If you were here and you missed the New York Times, and again, we played a snippet of both. I went to a little further because he was breaking down the law there. But at the end of the day, look, you might disagree with portions of both, which is a beautiful thing, right? Or you might agree completely with the New York Times or with Finn. But what we like about this, it was a breakdown into the law that allowed us to make our own decision, right? Because now we can think about the actual law and see what actually happened, right? So, I vote not only Brandon Tatum to not mind his business, but anyone else, either on the left or right, who is breaking down the law for me, because that is what's going to matter in the court of law. So I'm always going to vote, so it's not even about him. So, New York Times, I want to see, they gave us the same narrative of, innocent black man jogging. And, for me, it's like, okay, all right. Anyways,
so
yeah.
New York Times, do they mind their business or no?
They do mind their business.
Oh, okay.
I do.
I vote in favor. I vote in favor for New York Times to mind their business. I also vote for Brandon Tatum not to mind his business, because it's because of him I'm able to look at things a bit differently. And I'm like I said, I'm not for the McMichaels. I don't care. I'm not for Arbery either. I'm for justice. And right now, folks, when people say they're for justice, you're witnessing the justice. They're going through the trial. They're going through the courts. The jury is deliberating. That is justice. No matter of the verdict. It doesn't matter the verdict. It matters that justice is served. It's weighed. It's put on a measurement. You guys see that justice has that measuring? That's what justice is. So when people say we want justice, what are you really asking for?
Exactly.
Asking for the verdict? That's different.
According to the law, or are you trying to justify a systemic racism or whatever you might believe, and looking at it biased before it even start, right? We got to evaluate these things. But yeah.
And again, there's been anomalies all across history of certain instances, particularly sexually heinous crimes such as rape, interracial rape, alleged interracial rape, I should say. Those crimes have been dealt with a lot differently than someone, get into a fight with another person of an opposite race. So
Yep.
again, I think we have to look at history a little bit differently, as I said in the live with TikTok, is we have to remove our emotions, take ourselves out of it, look at it through those lens, through those days, what was going on. We know some of the disparities. We know some of the heinous crimes that were going on back then, but we have to look at things differently. Julie votes mind your business for both. They leave out the Fed charges. Apparently, she said there are
Hmm.
Fed charges, and
All right, I
she
like that,
said
Julie.
that
That's dope.
there was
Yeah.
hate crimes that were fed, that are Fed charges for hate crimes that
Well, I
I
think at
can't
that
kill a
time,
person for
none of
being.
them knew the charges, I would say, by the way, because this was a year ago. This wasn't recent. So I don't think none of them knew the charges at the time. But yeah.
The Fed charges or the
The,
current ones that they're
well,
facing right
I don't
now?
think none of them knew the charges in general because these videos were recorded shortly after the incidents, unless the
Oh,
charges were
yes,
released quick. So, but
yes,
we'll
I
see.
got
Yeah.
you. All right, so
All right. Ready to move to this segment?
let's groove.
Go.
Let's move and groove. And here we are. We are now looking at one of the attorneys, and I believe this is Travis McMichael's attorney. Hello, Kristen. How are you? Um, yeah, I believe this is one of the. I think this is Travis McMichael's attorney, and he has his closing statement. I wanted us to kind of walk through it, kind of glance through it, see what is being said in this.
I think he did. I think he had my shirt. I think he was punching me. Travis is in a state of disrepair. There is no question Ahmaud's hands are on this gun, and the medical examiner from that stand told you that if Ahmaud Arbery is grabbing this gun and trying to pull it away, that as the gun gets pulled out of his hands and fired, it could fire right on that wrist and shoot into the chest and go across the body. Pull it straight out. No question. This is about this gun. Travis.
All right, so they're showing slides, obviously, of the shooting, something more close, something more probably showing some of the things that they do during these trials is they probably show the body and show where some of the marks are,
Mhm.
and they can't show that to the public. That's personal. That's between the family. It's bad enough that it has to be shown here on trial, but we're not privy to that. So that's probably what he's flicking through right there, looking through that.
Yeah.
Julie has something to say. Do we want to read this? Okay, they
Okay.
have hate
They have
crime,
hate crime,
kidnapping.
gun charge. So it really don't matter what happens on a state level. So all the charges, maybe you're saying that Brandon was talking about are not relevant to the case, possibly. Yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah.
that could be.
Okay.
I don't know the layout of the charge, but that could be. Yeah. So
But I will say this though, Julie, what happens here in the state may give some insight to the feds deciding. Now, the feds do take they're the ones that take over the state. They whatever they say. But usually, if these are residents of Georgia, they usually leave it at that level unless it goes to appeals. So I don't know. I don't know what the state is doing. If the attorney general stepped in on this, I'm not sure.
yeah, should be
Runs
interesting.
into Ahmaud, trying to use his entire body, pulls the end of the shotgun away from him, gets pushed across the road into the grass, and the second shot goes off. Here's the plume, and it's believed that it didn't hit Mr. Arbery. Travis, coming out of the grass now, trying to yank this gun from Mr. Arbery. Again, trying to yank it away from him. Ahmaud's hand still on it. Ahmaud's fist now raising. Is there any question that Ahmaud Arbery is assaulting Travis McMichael right before that third shot? Not one single bit of question. And that third shot goes off. And these two men end where they started, face to face, looking into each other's eyes. Never a word being spoken by Mr. Arbery. And it is absolutely horrific and tragic that this has happened. And again, this is where the law
Key
is intertwined.
key word right there, by the way.
Go ahead.
This is
What you
where
got?
the law. You see, unfortunately, that's the harsh truth. This is where the law. And again, I'm hearing it here. I'm going through. I've seen snippets of a lot of these things. I didn't keep up with it like I did with the Kyle Rittenhouse, like I said, for all transparency. But I'm going to continue learning more about the case. But today we want to give you overview and kind of join us on this journey. Some episodes, y'all join us on journey. Some episodes we give y'all, or you can't. But here, I'm listening to this. That in itself says what? The law, right? So it's like, because he can argue, look, my client didn't mean to do that, but that's not how lawyers are. It's like, look, my client did this, and under the law, he was either justified or not. Sometimes,
just to take it a little step further, Savory, it's not even about my client didn't mean to do that, because he probably did out of self-defense. He's saying it's absolutely sad that this happened. He's basically telling the jury a life died here.
Yeah.
Right? We're not arguing about or invalidating about this person's life, but the law needs to be applied here, and we need to look at it from that. So he's basically saying what we're saying: take your emotions out of it.
Yeah.
If anyone who is watching right now, if you take your emotions out of it, if you take your preconceived ideas, you take your skin color out of this, and you literally look at it by the letter of the law, what are you going to get? What are you really going to get out of this? And that's what he's really trying to say.
Heartache and tragedy. You are allowed to defend yourself. You are allowed to use force that is likely to cause death or serious bodily injury if you believe it's necessary. At that moment, Travis believed it was necessary. This is a law that is for a person in Travis's situation. And you can do it to prevent death to yourself or a third person, or to prevent the commission of a forcible felony, like aggravated assault. Aggravated assault is a felony which can occur by use of fists.
Yeah. So,
Greg McMichael.
As you continue playing this, Macho, we got some relevant comments that I think are very good, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Kristen mentioned, I answered Julie, great thoughts. So Jeffrey said, this fall under self-defense as well, not to compare this to the Kyle case. It has some comparison in self-defense, but it's gonna vary in the details because it's a citizen's arrest. It's a lot of variables that weren't in play with the Kyle, right?
It's an attempt. And Trisha, who just joined us, was a member of law enforcement, so she's probably gonna also bring her insight in that. But they were attempting. If I could do an overview again very quickly. These folks were attempting to do a citizen's arrest, which most Americans across the country, it could be applied differently anywhere in any state, but most Americans have that right. In fact, I would say all Americans have that right.
Well, not in every state, right? So Trisha's not in every state, but in this case, I believe it was allowed, right? Because like we saw prior videos,
you can do a citizen's arrest in every state. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that. Okay, you could then. Okay, nice. Good for me to know as well, because
it's just about whether you would have to justify that. I could do a citizen's arrest on anybody right now. I have to now explain why I did that. I have to justify that in court.
Yeah. So you're held responsible to explain that. You're saying, right?
Yeah. I mean, higher than a police, much higher than a police officer. You have to justify that by every means.
Because the law in Atlanta, from what we were seeing the video, the breakdown, you have to visibly witness the crime, which they did according to the law. They did witness the crime. The crime, was it as severe as they thought? Did he deserve? That's a whole different conversation. Of course he didn't, I would say.
The language is in fact committed. So a crime has to be in fact committed in your presence. That's when you can conduct the citizen's arrest. If you can't explain it that way, then it's unjustifiable. And that's what they're weighing out right now. That's what they're doing during this trial.
With a hip replacement, heart attack, stroke, sitting in the back of that truck. Travis was afraid for him. If this was a case about wanting to murder a black jogger, if this was really a case about that, Travis would not have reacted the way he reacted. It was described to you by Brooke Perez. She talked about how totally freaked out he looked, how totally discombobulated he was. And she was right. Just hold on a second. It was from that spot to this spot within just an hour and a half of what had happened, where he would be brought for several hours of questioning. He was afraid. He was in shock. His adrenaline was still going through his body. You guys know how fear and worry works. You sat here through jury selection all day and probably felt that just by getting asked questions for an hour. Travis testified, even though he didn't have to. The judge will give you the law that cloaks Travis in sort of a shield of silence. You don't have to testify. You are presumed innocent.
So yeah, he doesn't have to testify. That is also right. But again, it makes his, when the jury gets to hear it from him, they get to hear where's his psyche at.
Yeah.
Now it gets cross-examined. Now you're getting hit. You're getting slammed. You're gonna hear the support of and the contouring questions that literally ask you the hard stuff, like did you, why, what's going on, what happened here, what did you say here, what exactly did you leave, what did you say to the officer, which he was cross-examined, and
Yeah.
this gives the jury a look at the person. I get to see the person who committed or is alleged to have committed a heinous crime. So I get to see that. So, I mean, I think it was to his benefit to sit on there. You know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah. That makes sense, man. I wanted to give people the law.
Trish had a good response here. I know you
Yeah,
said
go
you
ahead.
had the law of the citizen's arrest. You got it?
Let's pull her comment. Talk about that, and then
I think
before
it's
we-
almost impossible to take emotion out. I've gone into a house before being built, and if someone pulled a gun on me, I'm gonna fight for my life. Yeah, of course. And Trisha, no, make no mistake about it. Ahmaud Arbery had every right to defend himself as much as Travis McMichael had every right to conduct the citizen's arrest and defend himself. So this is a battle of, you guys were asking, is this a self-defense case like Kyle Rittenhouse? This is a self-defense case for everyone here, right? Great Ghostkreutz, who also was involved in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, who pulled a gun out on Kyle Rittenhouse. He was also doing his legal right by. He witnessed, oh, somebody's shooting. He doesn't know what's going on, but he knows with Wisconsin law, if I witness someone committing that kind of crime, I could pull my gun out and shoot them. You could do that. So he's also in right standing as well. So again, if you remove yourself out of that, you can look at this thing in a more general perspective. Yes, he has every right to, Ahmaud Arbery has every right to defend himself, just like Travis McMichael and company had every right to citizens arrest and defend themselves. So I and the second part of that, and if I'm correct, to perform a citizen's arrest, they have to be committing a felony, which, yes, they were committing a felony. He was, under the Georgia, they would have to now walk through this.
Yeah.
But under the Georgia law,
felony would be burglary and theft. That would be considered.
yes, which is what they're arguing, that he was committing burglary.
Yeah. So in the state of Georgia, that would be. So some details under the citizens arrest law, which thanks for the comment, Trisha. It's very interesting. And Julie, everybody involved in the different platforms. So right here, right? Citizens arrest law have been in effect for over 150 years, originally designed to provide greater protection for people in an era during which communication and travel were limited. These laws allow citizens to intervene and apprehend suspects so they could be brought to justice.
Correct.
Right. So that's the overview. And like Macho mentioned, which I learned right now, it's allowed in most states. I was assuming it's in certain states that
I'm gonna say it's safe to say, Savory, all states.
Yeah.
Every American citizen has the right to conduct a citizen's arrest. You just have to be able to defend that joint.
Yeah. That's good to know too. A private citizen may make an arrest to prevent the suspect from evading law enforcement and fleeing the scene. Once a citizen's arrest is made, the arrest person must take the suspect and any belongings removed from them to the police and judicial officer. So, it kind of falls in this category. Again, there's still details to explore in this case that we're exploring together, and some, hopefully, we all explore, in our own time. But again, that's the nuances I wanted to read to people to see. So that was actually happening. He was fleeing the scene of the witness felony that he was committed. They witnessed it, and then he was fleeing the scene.
The person witnessed
them. They were under the law. Yeah. So.
You have the right to remain silent. The state has to prove did that. You don't have to get up there and testify. He did, because he wanted you to understand what happened from him. He told you about the thefts and the burglaries, the totality of the facts, why he believed what he did, that he wanted to follow him, that he wanted to talk to him, that he wanted to stop him, for the police to detain him. Don't be fooled by this word arrest. You don't have to announce you're under arrest.
No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing too. I used to volunteer for the police department. That's not the same as what Trish did. Trish actually worked for law enforcement, so there's a difference there. But from what I learned under the Penal Code of New York City, you do not have to tell someone you're under arrest. You do not have to read them the Miranda because you're not a law enforcement. So Mirandas are for the person who is a law, like a police officer, anyone in law enforcement. A citizen's arrest is simply just restraining or keeping them in a position or posture until maybe someone comes and an actual police officer comes and arrests them properly. You have witnessed them commit a crime, and you are subduing them until law enforcement intervenes. That's pretty much it, folks. Yeah, what do we got here? Correct me if I'm wrong if I assume a burglary, but it didn't witness one, correct? Trish, yeah, they did. They did witness him. That's why they pursued him.
They actually called the cops immediately.
No, you can't. I mean, you're right, Trish. You can't compare two cases because again, there's so many, like Savory said, there's so many different nuances here. There's just varying details here that are different.
Well, Trisha, I think you answered already, Macho, but they did witness the burglary, which would be a theft. Yeah, that's a break and entry, which would be a felony. They did because they were on the phone talking to 911. Then he fled the scene, and then they went after him. So,
Brandon, also, they don't have to talk about. Ahmaud Arbery's not on trial here, so they're not going to say did he commit a crime? They're going to weigh that. The jury's responsibility is to weigh that.
He's innocent. Remember, innocent to proven guilty. He's innocent right now.
And you can't put Ahmaud Arbery on trial here. He's dead. He can't speak for himself.
Yeah.
So you can't.
If he was alive, even if he was alive, he's innocent to proven guilty. So I would have had the same take because we're not saying he's a criminal. We're saying in relation to this case, a crime was witnessed that fell under the rights of a citizen's arrest. Although we disagree with a citizen's arrest, maybe saying we wouldn't do where we from, they did it under the law, and now we got to discuss what that means. That's all we're saying. Yeah.
Great point. Great point.
He told you why he raised the gun because he was afraid that he would be on him within seconds. And the gun did exactly what he hoped it would be. It deterred him. And why ultimately he shot. The state wants to criticize Travis for testifying. I thought of this example as the state was talking about bias and prejudice. Travis is a liar. He's a liar because he has everything to gain by testifying here. He's got everything to lose by testifying.
That's correct.
Judgmental people. He's got 2 hours to tell you what happened at the risk of all of you sitting in judgment of him and saying, I don't believe him. He's got everything to lose. But
all right, I think we can clip it there because he's just persuading. He's just going to, kind of talk one-on-one with the jury. This is all legal tactics that they do. Yeah. But he did walk through the case with them. Jeff made a great point. You cannot bring up Ahmaud Arbery's previous convictions. You cannot do that because, again, that's prejudicial. You do not want to make prejudice of the victim here because the victim, one, is not on trial. That's number one. It's Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and I forgot the third gentleman's name who's on trial. So we again, it's not about what he was doing, why he was there, whatever. Is this a matter of self-defense and did they have just cause to do the citizen's arrest. And my argument here to you guys, if you're missing anything, you, as long as you can justify the reason for the citizen's arrest, which is very difficult, especially in New York City, it's very hard. If you can justify that reason in other states, then go for it. I mean, I wouldn't, because it's not worth the headache for me. For these gentlemen, it was worth it for them. But unfortunately, in the pursuit of conducting the citizen's arrest, unfortunately, a life died here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any prejudice in terms of race here. I don't see any. Personally, my personal take, my opinion, I don't see any of that sort here. I just see that this guy did not want stuff to be taken out of his house again, which was previously broken into, which was previously stolen. Stuff was stolen from there, and all they know is he wanted to stop this. He's called the cops many times. So what else is there to do, right? If your stuff is being broken into constantly, what are you going to do? You're probably going to do something about it.
And
I
that's
don't know.
relevant to the case, right? Like, you're not bringing a criminal history of him. You're bringing the situation of the community where it was broken into, crime was happening, and they got multiple people on footage, and that's going to go also to their advantage. But again, let the facts win. Hopefully justice is served.
Otherwise, it's okay. You make the argument that in order to commit a citizen's arrest, the crime has to first happen, or otherwise it's kidnapping. Again, kidnapping charges are not on the table, just letting you know. But if it was on the table, that would be the counter argument if Ahmaud Arbery was alive. Honestly, I'm gonna be straight with you. He would argue, I would feel that I was being kidnapped, and that would be his defense. But unfortunately, he's not here to push back on that. So that's where again. This is Wayne. Now, I want to close the segment with this. I want to remind everyone with this. When we ask for justice, what are we actually asking for? Are we asking for the verdict that we want? Or are we asking for what's actually happening? An actual trial. When there's a trial happening, when there's indictments happening, when there are charges happening, and people have to argue this in court, that's justice. What you just witnessed? This whole trial, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, that's justice.
Yeah,
That's
nobody's getting locked up without their due date in court. By the way, Julie is saying, I think what she's saying here, Happy Thanksgiving, and yes, they are bringing up kidnapping charges, I think.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's possible he's dead, but I'll look into that, but that's interesting. I think she did mention that earlier. This is just a hard case, honestly. I pray for justice service. It is a hard case, right? That's why it's important for us to do what we're doing. To not give a solution to every single detail, but at least try to break this down to see where it's leaning towards. And I do agree. It's totally different than the cow case.
It's a very hard case. This is a very hard case. Because what do you do? Right? If your house is constantly broken into, and what do you do as Ahmaud Arbery if you're really just jogging? I'm just saying, if you're really just jogging, why are these three men cornering me? Right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to what do you do in those cases? Right? Again, this is just some of the inherent problems that happens between us individuals. We all have these problems. We get into fights. We get into arguments. Some people die. I'm not being indifferent about it. I'm just saying that's just the fact of life. Let's get to the last segment here, shall we?
Last segment. What we got here?
The best segment. All right, we got some facts. We really don't go back and forth on this, but I honestly want to hear the reaction from Savory on this, and also reaction from our audience here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm watching it first time with you.
This is the first time.
So
I'm one of the rare people that knows about this guy. His name is Dr. Zumaya. He's actually a native in Africa. I believe he's from Nigeria or Ghana. I'm not sure which one, but he says it like it is, and you're probably not going to like what he says, but check this out, what he has to say here.
Now, I'd like to look at one of the topics in your book, the topic of colonisation. We know that the Christian West colonised Africa. The West has acknowledged this and is self-critical in this regard. Did the Islamic empires colonize Africa?
Well, yes, there was a lot of activities on the part of Muslims in Africa, especially in West Africa. What happened there was not necessarily outside colonization, but there was a form of colonization in the sense that the dominant Islamic tribes conquered weaker tribes and imposed Islamic rule over them.
All right, just want to cap it right there. So he's, in a subtle way, Savory, he reminds me of you, right? He reminds me of you, and here's what I mean.
Oh, wow.
Instead of directly saying no, you're wrong, he's subtly saying you're wrong by saying it wasn't necessarily outside colonization. It was more in a sense of inside colonization that was going on. And the way he smoothly, subtly disagreed with him right there, you didn't feel it, right? You didn't feel the disagreeing, but he is giving his contraring opinion. And for those of you who are wondering his validity, this guy wrote a thesis book, and it's a major, massive book.
So hold up, give a little more, because I know a lot of people are engaged with the Ahmaud Arbery. Now that we transition, give us a little more context here, because I want to make sure I'm keeping up and we don't go back.
Dr. Zumaya, who went to school in the UK, wrote a thesis book from his studies in Africa. Okay, and I mean, Savory, when I mean a thesis book, he wrote a book, a massive book. Right now, it's on sale for like $40. It's a textbook where he writes about the colonization, internal colonization through the lens of the Arab Muslim world. They were the biggest colonizers of Africa, and this guy has been telling people that the Western society has it a bit wrong, but he's subtle with it. He's not like yo, no, you're stupid. No. He's a professor, folks. He's in the business of educating people, and that's why he's speaking from his point of view.
JW, welcome to the chat, man. We just moved from Ahmaud Arbery and Kyle Rittenhouse, but we appreciate your take. We're doing our last segment here, step on some facts. Feel free to watch this episode. We'll comment and we'll respond to what you're saying on, if you rewatch it as well, man. But thanks for joining, brother.
Check this out. I'm really intrigued to see your reaction.
And therefore, there was some kind of internal colonization going on. The Fulani in West Africa in particular were very much in the habit of conquering and imposing Islamic rule on other tribes. So that was a form of internal colonization, yes.
What about with the Arab conquest of North Africa? Was that a form of colonization?
Absolutely. That the Arab conquest of North Africa was a form of colonization that took place in the 7th century when Arab Muslims burst out of Saudi Arabia and conquered Egypt and went on to conquer the whole of North Africa. There were a lot of Berber tribes there. The Egyptian Copts were the original indigenes of the land, as well as the Berbers. And they were all conquered and Islamized and Arabized. That was also a form of colonization, definitely.
Now, do Muslims today acknowledge this? Are they self-critical about this?
Not to the extent that the West has become very critical. In fact, many Muslims don't even admit that there was any form of colonization. Even though if you talk to the Berbers, and let's be also aware that many of the Berbers have become Muslim, the Berbers will tell you they have been colonized. There's been Arab imperialism. The same thing in Egypt. The Copts know that they are the original, the indigenes of the place. They feel like they have been colonized. The same thing will happen we talk to Sudanese. They will tell you that Sudan was colonized by Arab Muslim invaders. So yes, they will not admit it, but there is that kind of history there.
So basically here, Savory, what are your initial reactions to this? I'm curious.
So hold up. I'm trying to see. I was trying to see where he's going. All right, because is he just challenging the West in the way they're approaching the colonization in Africa? And
he's basically opposing the pervasive ideology in his thesis, in his book, and now as a professor, that the Western civilization is extremely critical about colonization. Again, colonization is a modernized word. This is not something that
Yeah.
they would say. If you notice what Dr. Zumaya was saying, he's saying conquered. Conquered. That's the word.
Yeah.
You were conquered by a stronger civilization or a stronger force. Somebody came and conquered you. And we have pulled away from that ideology and moved to a more modernized, intellectual savviness of this ideology of colonization and making it, depending on who you're talking to, it's like a negative. Listen, is it a negative or positive? It's not for us to judge. What he's looking at it is from the lens of where he is in Africa, that listen, we were colonized internally. They took over our country. They forced us to take their culture. They forced us to speak their languages. They colonized us all throughout Africa. They sold us in slavery. It didn't matter where. They just sold us. That's just, we were their. He goes on and on about this in his book. So the point of the matter is the facts that I'm trying to put out there, guys. If you want to look for Dr. Zumaya's book, it's on Amazon. If you want to look at snippets, if you want to continue listening to him, he says some very powerful stuff that will definitely probably open your eyes. I'm not saying it changes your mind. I'm saying there's contraring opinions out there when it comes to the idea or the institution of slavery. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm thinking through because I know there's so much he would dissect and break down when it comes to where he's going, because I see what he's challenging, right? And not only challenging, he sounds like he's just explaining history through the lens of just the reality of what happened. He has that kind of attitude, like, "Hey, this is what happened," right?
And not only
Whatever
that,
you wanna call it.
he's also saying that if you ask them, they will say, "Yeah, we were conquered or
Yeah,
colonized
that was an
by
interesting.
them."
Yeah,
By
yeah,
them. They will not say the West conquered us, or maybe they may be infiltrated, and they may be told or manipulated and say, "No, blame West, blame West, blame West." I
yeah,
don't know, but if you ask some of their earlier people, they're saying, "No, they did. We're
yeah, yeah, yeah,
speaking their language." You know what I'm saying? Again,
yeah, yeah,
the Arab Muslims don't want to be perceived in that posture. They want to be perceived in different postures, as you can see now in the Middle East. Their dysfunctionality in their government or in their governance. You have extremists on their side. You have so many things going on in the Middle East and even in areas of Egypt and Africa where they seem to be very and highly dysfunctional, and it's on purpose.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's some facts that I was challenging the person on your TikTok live when he was saying chattel slavery, chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is not a Western thing. There was no such thing for the West. The West did not do that. Chattel
Mm.
slavery is an Arab Muslim thing. The Barbary pirates were the ones guilty time and time again because the Brits ended slavery, the imports of slaves to America. And the way that they would police it is they had these boats monitoring the ins and outs of every boat coming from Africa to America to
Yeah.
deny them access. And that was the chattel slavery. That was chattel. So
Gotcha,
what would
gotcha.
so just a quick background here, and then we'll end it here. When the Brits would investigate every single boat, this is where Roots picks up. This is where we get the roots. Okay,
Hmm.
remember when we see the slaves getting thrown into the water? You know why? Because the Brits were enforcing the law that they have instituted that no more slaves are to be imported to Americas. So what the nasty Arab Barbary pirates would do to avoid jail time or avoid the death penalty is they would throw hundreds of slaves over the boat. But instead, who gets the blame for it? America. They're the
Oh,
ones that got the blame for it. Why they
interesting.
got the blame for it? It wasn't their fault. So again, I hope
Yeah.
if people want to debate me on that, look at that story first, then debate me on that. Don't debate me on what roots say. Listen to these people and contraring opinion from the mass pervasive groupthink.
Yeah, that's dope. I'll probably take a look at his video, go a little deeper into that because, yeah, in the beginning, I'm like, where is he going with this? And it felt like he just built the foundation to it, but that's interesting. So, yeah, hopefully people look and say his name again, man, for the people.
Dr. Zumaya. He has a big
Dr.
name.
Zumaya.
What did Brandon say? The Muslims moved from the Middle East into West Africa. Oh, they took a lot. I mean, Brandon, they took a lot of Africa. A lot. If
Yeah,
you even go to
it was dope.
areas of Nigeria, I mean, even in Ghana, where some of their they speak Arab Muslim. They speak these languages in Sudan. I mean, if you go as far up as Saudi Arabia, which is all West Africa, but I'm saying even in Eastern Africa, there's some marks or historical marks in the language there that they're speaking Muslim language there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
let's let them know
Send us
where they
some
can
facts.
find us.
That was interesting. So I appreciate that, you know. So yeah, let's run it through. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drinks with a Nobody. This is the live episode. So if you're on Twitch, thanks for the love. This is where you can follow us, Macho Fix Savory Edition _ right there in the middle. Follow us on Twitter, same handles, Macho Fix Savory Edition. Also follow us on TikTok. My man Macho Fix, my co-star, is out of jail tomorrow. So
Free
go
Macho.
show some love. Go show some love. Follow our Instagram, Drinks with a Nobody. We got a Discord, Drinks with a Nobody. And we got a YouTube channel, Drinks with a Nobody. If you're on this video still, hit that like button. Show us some love for that algorithm. Also, hit that subscribe notification bell. So every time we go live, you know it. You join us and you have some fun with us. Whether you agree with us, please join us. When you disagree, please join us. Leave your feedback. We love it. Thank you, guys.
Oh yeah, Brandon, thanks for the dumb divar sauce.
Yeah, we're gonna write that.
I'm gonna take that down. Appreciate that. We all learn from each other. We're not gonna go live the rest of the week. Just a reminder, we're gonna be dropping some pre-records every day the rest of the week. But we'll see you live back here on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I'm Diversus. Later.